Hi, this is David Baldeon, artist for the Marvel comic book Domino, and you're listening to Southern Fried Geekery.
1, 2, 3.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We are doing this again. It feels like we were just here, just a matter of hours ago. Maybe because we were. This is the Southern Fried Geekery podcast, and we are happily bringing you episode 82 as we continue our I don't know if you call it a trudge or a march. I'm not sure. Our dragging carcass.
It is a journey.
Yeah, towards those triple digits that we strive for. We want them. It's like It's like we're making our mark. So, as usual, I am Caleb Alexander McKenzie, and who am I here with today?
Matt Trogdon.
Craig Lance.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Jerry.
All right. Well, we've got a long. Well, it won't be a long show, but we've got a lot to cover through this show. As most of you know, if you have been on social media of any kind, you know that San Diego Comic-Con was this weekend, and there's a lot of news pouring out of that. Even some comic book news, which surprise on that. I'm not salty at all. Anyway, and so we're going to cover a lot of that. This is our regular news episode, so we're gonna hit a lot of those high points. Tell you about some comic books that came out that you might not have heard of because comic book journalism is the shit. And by the shit, I mean like you stepped in it. And they don't like to talk about comic books. They just want to talk about all the movies that are coming out. But before we do that, we're going to roundtable a book as we usually do, and I'm excited about this one because it was a great one. We're going to tell you about our short stacks, which is a couple of things that we've read over the past week or so that we might have enjoyed it, we might have not. There's no judgment on the short stack. We just tell you we read it. But before we do that, we want to invite you to go back to listen to the episode that we released earlier this morning, and that is our 2019 halftime roundtable book. Like most podcasts, we like to, at the end of every year, give a hierarchy of comics. Tell you, these were the best things that we read this year, in our opinion. We really enjoyed these things, but man, I don't know about y'all, 12 months is a long time to remember some shit. So we like to do a halftime report where we tell you about a short list of things that we really enjoy so far in the year of 2019, Anno Domini. So... see me throwing in that.
Hell, man, so nice.
In the year of our Lord Conan. So go check that out. And if you listen to that and you like what you hear, come start a conversation with us on our Facebook group. We are Southern Fried Geekery. It's on and popping there all the time. There's people from all over the place. Other podcasts, people of all kinds of interests, guys, girls, people of non-binary genders are there. So it's a really cool place. Man, if you're looking for a place to come get your geek on, to come nerd out a little bit without having the trolls come at you, I highly recommend our place because we haven't had that, and we're pretty good about monitoring it. So if you're looking for a place that you can come and just throw your opinion out there with having some like faceless douchebag come gripe at you, come check us out on the Facebooks. And then you can come check us out on Instagram and Twitter. We're at SFG on both of those. It's good times. Good times all around. How is everyone doing today?
Like you said, it's good times.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
Copious amounts of coffee this morning.
I feel extraordinarily tired.
Do you?
Oh, well, we're glad you're feeling up to the show.
Yeah. I'm drinking some caffeine. Maybe I'll be awake here before
long. Do you
long.
need the coffee?
No.
Wouldn't be a proper episode if we weren't all half asleep.
Just dragging, like I said, we're just dragging our carcass to the finish line on this one. Well, all right. Well, let's talk about some short stacks real quick.
It doesn't matter how you two are.
Yeah.
I gave you ample opportunity to speak.
You
opted
did.
not
You
to,
did.
so I do not feel bad.
The silence was my answer to how I'm doing
Was it?
this morning, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that a hangover silence? Or?
No.
Boy, is that
That's
silence going to be
slippery.
brief.
Absolute garbage.
But you're doing okay this morning?
Yeah.
I mean, we had this
I'm
conversation earlier, but I guess we should tell them.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about some short stacks. I'll kick us off on this one. This week, I read Chip Zdarsky's Invaders that came out this week. It's also with art by Carlos Magno and Butch Geis and Alex Ramirez. Man, that book it's great. If you like things like Namor or Shark Week, you should read that. Domino Hotshots by Gail Simone, David Baldeon, and Michael Shelford did a great page on this one. It was I think he only did one page in it, but it's a 4-panel homage to some of the greats like Kirby. There's a Neil Adams homage. It's just beautiful. And then as I am wont to do, I like to revisit stuff that's been out for a long, long time. I went back to the 80s and I started the Wonder Woman omnibus by George Perez because Perez is...
Nice.
He's my personal high watermark for the comics artistic medium, and I've never read his Wonder Woman stuff, which is, if you like George Perez, you kind of have to. So that's my short stack. What you got, Matt?
So my my 3, Assassination number 5, the wrap up of this first arc. The way it ended, I'm assuming there's going to be another one eventually. That's at Course Image Comics by Kyle Starks and Erica Henderson. That is, it was a great wrap up to the story with some of the best fight scenes in a comic book I've seen in a long, long time. Man, Erica Henderson killed it illustrating these fight scenes. Daredevil number 8, Marvel Comics by Chip Zdarsky, pencils by Lalit Kumar Sharma, ink by Jay Leaston, and color by Java Tartaglia. Sure, I guess.
Sure.
So
He can be today.
yeah, that's what it is.
Unless you have a problem with the way he just said your name, you can come on the show and fight us about it.
So, trudging right along with the Daredevil story, it's interesting to me. This one is dialogue heavy, but he has a very interesting conversation with a crime family that surprised myself. I found very interesting. Then I read Little Bird Chapter 5. This is Image Comics by Darcy Van Polgeest, Ian Bertram, and Matt Hollingsworth. Really intense, violent, bloody end to the story, but the content itself is great. This is a very creative story, very well illustrated, well written.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it was
Absolutely
it was
beautiful.
cool. This story, Caleb talked me into picking up number 1, and I'm really glad he did because it's been very good.
Sean, drop your short stack on us, dude.
All right. This week I read Usagi Yojimbo number 2 from IDW Comics.
Color.
In color. Continuing the story of the mystery involving the tradition of Japanese stage puppet plays and the mystery that's going on around that right now. It's been really good jumpstart onto his new series. Also read Teen Titans number 32 from DC Comics, and this is also continuing Crush's daddy issues with Lobo, and is another just fantastic issue dealing more and more into getting into Crush, who's quickly becoming one of my favorite characters in DC. So I really enjoyed that. And Immortal Hulk number 21. Yeah, it's just amazingness. If you're not reading it, you should not be like me, and you should have already been reading it and get on this book.
So what you're saying is people should be reading Immortal Hulk?
I mean,
What you got, Jerry?
I actually got caught up in a lot of series this week, so I did a lot of reading. Black Hammer: Age of Doom. It's been fantastic. It looks like, I mean, there could be a wrap up here in the future, but with them just announcing another offshoot, probably not likely. But you finally got your group that's getting back together, and everybody's getting their memories back in this new alternate timeline that was created. Look forward to seeing how that goes. Finished off Lollipop Kids, which was a fantastic series that I think Sean and I were into. I don't know if you guys were.
I read the first few.
Yeah, it's great
Excellent
fantasy
series.
stuff. Yeah, and then I got caught up in Jeremy Hahn's Realm, and it's still been a great post-apocalyptic high fantasy story.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. So I read Animosity number 22 by Marguerite Bennett, Raphael de la Tour, and Marcelo Maiola. This book, it's really good. Still really enjoying it. It is kind of getting to the point, though, where I'm kind of hoping they start to wrap it up. You know, sometimes on these independent creator-owned stuff, after about 20, 25 issues, you start going, okay, let's move the story along a little bit. That's kind of where I'm at with this book, but really good issue this week. Batman number 75. If you don't know who publishes that, punch yourself in the balls. Tom King, Tony S. Daniel. We finally start to see where the story's going again. I feel like the last quite a few issues, maybe last 3 story arcs have been kind of meh for me, but we're finally seeing where it's going now, so I'm excited about that. Black Science number 41 by Rick Remender and Monteo Scalera. It's an Image book. This book, I thought it was pretty much over after the last issue because they'd kind of reset the universe and whatever. And then in this one, you kind of realize that it's not quite the utopia that you thought that it was going to be. So Grant is up to his old shenanigans again. So maybe it's not ending real quick. But then I also have heard that it is ending, so I don't know. Could end next week. Who knows? This Image, they don't really tell
this
you
post
anything.
Walking Dead world, who knows anymore when a book's gonna end?
Post-apocalyptic Image world that we live in.
Who can say these things? Well, all right, those are good short stacks all around. I guess I want to co-sign on that Batman 75. This was a good launch pad towards the end of this book.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that art though is just
Yeah, everything about this issue was good, and maybe it's in comparison to what we've had, but it was good.
Yeah.
Again. Yeah. So
I think it's both. I think it's
Yeah, I
both
think so.
in comparison and on its own. It's the hotness. All right. Well, I am going to do something that I'm going to relish in. I'm going to jump in the back seat. I'm going to let Mr. Matt Trogdon take the wheel and talk to you all about a little book that we all 5 of us read this week, and we're going to roundtable for you. So, Matt, what are we reading this week?
So we are roundtabling Second Coming, published by Ahoy Comics, written by Mark Russell, pencils by Richard Pace, ink, what's called the Earth Inks, I will explain later, by Leonard Kirk, and the Earth Colors by Andy Troy. So the synopsis for this book, the book opens with Jesus retelling the story of creation in the Garden of Eden, and he recounts that humans were created because God was lonely. He wanted friends, but he also wanted those friends to worship him. Humans multiply quickly, and they just end up dicking up the planet, as Jesus puts it, and using their cognitive gifts just to mistreat each other. So as Jesus continues to tell the story, people eventually ended up forming tribes, which become nations and then empires, and that the human race got really good at killing each other and just making life miserable. So in response, God created law via the 10 Commandments, but this only made people feel better about having less mercy on each other. So when this happened, this failure was the last straw for God. So the scene is he reascends back into heaven to grab a glass of wine and tell Jesus that he is done with people. And he's standing next to this, I guess you would call it a view hole, where he looks down upon earth, and he looks funny. He looks back and just goes, jerks. Jesus says, so you're just going to leave them down there? And God's response is, well, I did try drowning them.
One of my favorite lines in the book.
So Jesus, seeing this, he walks over and looks down and asks God for permission to go down to earth and help people in their own way. God enthusiastically approves, assuming that Jesus is going to go do what the Son of God should do, is kick ass and take names. So jump to Jesus as a young man working in his adopted family's carpentry shop. He has a young friend named Shimon join him in his work, and he trains Shimon in woodworking. After years of working together, Jesus turns the business over to Shimon so he can begin his work as the Messiah. So jump to God taking a peek down the view hole just in time to see the crucifixion. He becomes enraged, and once Jesus returns to heaven, God forbids him to return to earth until he learns to act like a, quote, real God.
Which he also, in seeing Jesus' crucifixion, used my new favorite curse words, is cheese and fucking crackers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That cracked me up. Sorry, continue.
So about 2,000 years later, we're in present-day USA, and the scene is a superpowered white male named Sunstar is breaking up a gang of interstellar robots who are attempting to rob a bank for some reason. Why interstellar robots would rob a bank? I think it's pretty funny.
As you do.
It's what they do.
Yeah.
Bitcoin, man.
Yeah. So,
I read Battlefield Earth.
So Sunstar is making short, violent work of them and talking trash while doing so, in your typical superhero trope. God happens to be snacking and peering down the view hole to witness this, and he's impressed and tells Jesus that if he were more like this superhero Sunstar, Jesus' problems would be over. So God drops in on Sunstar and his live-in girlfriend to ask Sunstar to mentor Jesus. Sunstar agrees, but is doubtful that he is qualified. So the first job that Sunstar takes Jesus on is to bust a counterfeit RPG merchandise manufacturer. And as Sunstar is violently taking down the thugs, he throws them out a window. And outside this window, Jesus is waiting for him to finish. But as Sunstar goes to question the buyer, the man kills himself via suicide tablet.
As you do.
And
Got to protect those bootleg Pokey secrets.
yeah, he couldn't face the consequences of his actions, making bootleg RPG cards. When he returns to question the other thugs that he dispatched, he finds that Jesus has healed and released them. Sunstar tries to tell Jesus that he cannot heal people just because they're in pain. He says that evil people need to feel pain as punishment. Well, Jesus goes on to explain, and this is where the book wraps up, is he goes on to explain that the world isn't saved by violence, bribery, or power. It's saved by bravery against intimidation, honesty against bribery, and forgiveness for failure. And that's where the book wraps up.
To be continued.
Thank God it's to be continued.
So I have a question on this. Is Mark Russell the best at writing one-liners and quips in the industry today?
Yes.
Yes.
Every time I read a Mark, I don't know that he's the best story crafter. His stories are good. They really are. But as far as writing dialogue and just these really comedically timed one-line quips, I don't know that there's anybody else better in the business today.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and his whole bit that he went there at the end with the cross and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how it's kind of like, gives him some kind of stigma because of, he was on a cross, so why would they worship that?
Oh, yeah.
It makes complete sense.
Well, yeah, the one-liners and, like I said, the quips and just this whole book is just humor-laced, but also very poignant in his statements.
Well,
Great writing.
some of the things I wrote down as far as the quips that I really appreciated, I really liked whenever Jesus is talking about he's essentially talking about the Old Testament. And then he just says that when there were only 4 people on the planet, they started killing each other. Yeah. So he called that a red flag.
Well, so there's a lot to unpack in this book, right? And I think you have to start with the controversy that surrounded it. Its initial kickoff, and use that as kind of a comparative lens to view what we actually have. So if you don't know, this book was originally supposed to be at DC. Was it going to be a Vertigo book?
It was a Vertigo book.
Okay, yeah. And because of the nature of talking about Christ and Christianity and all of that jazz, there was a lot of online blowback from it, sight unseen, which led DC to say, hey, to go back to them and say, hey, you're going to have to make some changes to this. And Mark Russell was like, no, that's not a thing I have to do. What you can do is you can give me my stuff back and I can go find a different publisher. And they reached an amicable agreement, and they actually gave Mark Russell and Richard Pace their intellectual property back to go find a new home for it. Fortunately, and they chose to do Ahoy Comics, which just made me happy because I love this little publisher. I think it's doing great things. Now, with that in mind, that being said, what a mistake on behalf of DC.
Right. Yeah,
absolutely.
And because there's nothing this is why you can't listen to the internet when they get in arms about something that they don't know about. This is one of those things like a solicit was released, and therefore drama happened. But what executive at DC read this book and said there's anything that's uber blasphemous? This is not Garth Ennis.
I was about to say,
this is
the same people that publish Preacher, and yet they're getting scared of this.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of other books out there that are a lot more blasphemous. And there's not really... it portrays God the Father as kind of an everyman, kind of the, asshole dad a little bit, but, I think it portrays Jesus in a very good light throughout the book.
Oh, absolutely it does. Yeah. Well, and I think if you're outraged by this, you're the same person that's outraged by the old Monty Python religious humor.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because this is definitely in line with Life of Brian.
Yeah. There's something to So a little background for Mark Russell, though. Mark Russell is an actual theologian. He's written, off the top of my head, I know 2 books, not comics, 2 actual books about the life of Christ, about early modern Christianity, the development from polytheism to a monotheistic ideology. So
Yes, he has studied it.
yeah, he's an expert in this.
Right.
I was raised by a evangelical Church of Christ minister, so the Bible was like a big part of my life. This version of God is the version of God from the Old Testament.
Yeah,
like this
absolutely.
is like he was a cosmic voyeur. He was a terrible God. He was like if you want to know a synonym for awesome is terrible. Like it is an awesome power. He did flood the earth because he could only find one perfect person. He was looking for perfection, and if you didn't reach that mark, there was no forgiveness. There was nothing. He was a terrible God. He was fearsome. If you whether or not you believe that he's a real figure in the universe or he's a mythological figure, that character was a fearsome figure.
Oh, the wrath of God is a phrase for a reason.
Right. And that's what this God is. He was very much literally a hellfire and brimstone God. Yeah. And then you get this figure of Christ who comes down and offers healing and forgiveness, not to the people who, there's a verse in the Bible, and off the top of my head, I can't remember it, but you don't send a doctor to the people who are not sick. Right. He is here to offer forgiveness to the people who actually need it, to the criminals and to the people who are living in poverty. Not to mention the fact that there's this one great line where he's asking Sunstar, well, why are people doing these bad things? Mostly because they're in pain, but that's beside the point. Like that's Christ. Like if you read the actual teachings, if you skip over some of the apostles and stuff like that in the actual Bible and you read the stuff in red, that's what Christ did. Christ offered healing to the people who other people didn't think deserved it. Because it's not about what they deserve, right? It's about love. I mean, to steal the phrase from Wonder Woman, it's not about deserve. It's about what he was sent to do, and he was punished for that. It's a brilliant portrayal of these biblical figures.
Absolutely.
For sure. And what baffles me is that anybody who holds this religion, I mean, I'm an atheist, but it baffles me that anybody who holds this religion could read this and be up in arms about the portrayal. Like what God do you think you worship? Like that's my question.
Yeah.
Well, as I always say, I'm a bad Christian, but I do feel I hold myself to Christian beliefs, and I read this book and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Because as you said, a lot of people like to romanticize their religion to justify their own personal agendas, I think, especially in the Christian belief. I can only speak for that because that's the only one I'm a part of. But yeah, no, it's in the book.
Yeah.
God was wrathful. Jesus was forgiving. People some people up in arms are the ones who are just like, hey, this goes against what I have dictated for myself to want to be an asshole about. So yeah, no, I said, pretty sure the only one at the table. And I absolutely love this book. So.
Can we talk about the forbidden fruit? It wasn't an apple. It wasn't a pomegranate.
Oh no.
They were dicks and vaginas.
Absolutely.
There's so many things like that in this book.
I wonder if that was a Richard Pace decision or if that was a Mark Russell.
I don't know,
decision.
but it was a great decision.
The tree from the Garden of Good and Evil, the fruits were these phallic and vaginal shaped fruits just decorating the trees. It was great,
and it actually gave them their genitalia apparently.
Yeah,
because Adam was of course, as soon as you get a penis and you're old enough to know how you're going to play with it, right?
Yep. Very much a Blue Lagoon-esque moment there.
Well, and then God made some comment about, I told you not to eat from this. Well, and Eve says, well, how would we know until we ate from it?
Right.
Yeah, don't lawyer me.
Because it was like knowledge.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And like from statements like that to, and just all throughout, like, I think the character interactions were some of my favorite parts about this whole book. Mm-hmm. Even from when God appeared to Eve and you know, fear not, for you are going to give birth to my son. Her reaction's just like, okay. Like, that's an honest reaction.
To Mary.
Mary, sorry, yes, Mary.
Yeah, some of my favorite moments in that vein are like whenever God decides to bust in the room and to just like in the most terrifying way possible, and then say, he's just like, be not afraid.
Right.
But there's a lot of statements that's being made in this book, not only about religion but about humanity and specifically about parenthood.
Oh, absolutely.
That I find to be fascinating, and it's not. I mean, I don't know if you call it. It's not subtext; it's just text. But there
it's
are
not
layers.
hidden.
No, it's you Sunstar, who, by the way, it's also hilarious to me because Lucifer Morningstar is that's Satan, but this character's name is Sunstar. Like, that's just funny to me. But he and his wife are trying to adopt a child, and they're having trouble adopting a child. Mainly, number one, because he can't be around because it's like would Superman have time for a relationship with Lois Lane when he can hear every crime happening around the planet? Probably not. No, there's something to be said for that. The dude's busy. But also because they're not legally married because they can't be because he's not a human. Like that's, and so I mean, again, you're getting into this metatextual moments where you're talking about current society juxtaposed against the lens of, at least in America, the mainstream religion, and there's a lot to be said for that.
Which is something else that Mark Russell's very good at. I'm sorry, Sean.
Oh, no worries. I was also going to mention the fact that he is pairing Jesus with a Superman-esque character, with Superman often being called an allegory for Jesus himself. So it's like this perfect fucking pairing for this story. And yeah, the whole thing, like being an alien, can't get married, being away too long, like, and actually showing like the human side to him too, like his frustration not being able to find that plane crash. Again, is very humanizing to this superpowered being.
God fucking with the guy.
I was just about to say. I was just about to say that. What's funny is the way Mark Russell writes God is, he's fed up with humanity, so he's just finding ways to entertain himself.
Yep.
And he tries to convince the one man that has ascended to heaven that was a mistake. He should have been sent to the lake of fire.
Yeah, it's like, we've got you scheduled.
Yeah. He's
like, what?
Yeah. And he was pissed off that there was a plane crash because he's got to spend so much time welcoming the newcomers to heaven. It was inconvenient to him. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, and he says, God, they're such a pain in the ass or something like that. And Jesus goes, well, you did create them in your own image. So, it's great. And Mark Russell not only does dialogue well, but he does that making things relevant to what is happening in current society without overtly being in your face with it. And sometimes he's very overtly in your face with it. So he does both of those things very well. And this book, he does it very well.
In surprisingly few words. Like he's doing, like, he can take one sentence, 5 words, and make an insanely poignant point.
Yes.
To what it would take a person like me, like 4 paragraphs to get to. It's just incredible.
So to me, this was the best Mark Russell book since Flintstones.
As far as the first issue, absolutely.
Yeah. It's another, I think, in like the Flintstones, for me anyway, he takes something that I should have no interest whatsoever in and make it very entertaining. I mean, I usually steer away from religious books just because I don't want to read religious material. And I probably wouldn't have picked this up if it wasn't for this podcast, but I'm really glad I did.
I'm glad you did too, dude. So we've talked about Mark Russell a lot, but what about Richard Pace's art in this? One thing that I found I like Richard Pace's art. I enjoy what he does. I've seen him in other books before. But as I was reading this book, I found myself going, you know what? Like, Ahoy is a better fit for this style. Like, this does not look like a Vertigo book. This does not look like a DC book. So, maybe there's some type of cosmic interference. I mean, if we're going to talk about, biblical actions, that moved it, because it certainly, to me, feels like a better home for his style.
Yeah. This would have been weird as a DC book. Weird. Yeah.
I don't know, like the art style changed from the Old Testament time and, into the modern time, and I don't know. I personally thought it would have kind of felt like the Old Testament style was a kind of very old school Vertigo for me.
Okay,
and the newer style fit very much like almost like who did the cover, Amanda Connor, kind of a style to it. So I think in the end, obviously, it's better to say Ahoy because DC pussed out on this, but
Hey, they tree fruited out on
They
this.
they wisdom treat out of it.
On that point, here's what's interesting. Something that I've mentioned before is Richard Pace did the pencils for the entire book. He only inked the heaven sections.
Oh, okay.
So there's a good right within this one book is a great case for what an inker does for a book.
And how much it changed the style, which
Correct.
is very impressive. Like I actually, I didn't read the credits close. I honestly thought there were 2 different artists on there. Wow. That's very impressive.
That's what an inker can do.
Yeah.
When you talk about the importance, and people forget about that, is the 2 different inkers on the same penciler will make an entirely different page. So one thing, and I'm curious about, not necessarily being left out, but you don't get any commentary on the apostles, and you don't get any commentary on baptism, and those 2 things are big points of difference in at least Christianity. I mean, if you want to talk about Catholicism versus Protestantism, and even the breaking down further than that, that's where most of the disagreements come from, is the things that happened in those 3 years where he got the apostles and what they said versus what he said,
right,
or this, that, and the other. So I wonder if we're going to get any commentary like that, or if we're just going to stay just kind of in this modern era, or if he's going to adopt new apostles. Like that could be a cool thing. But I mean, that's just all speculation. I'm curious because I would love to know his thoughts on. This is where I just want to sit down with Mark Russell and not have a comic book conversation. I want to have the conversation, what are your thoughts on like the teachings of Christ versus the teachings of Paul, who was Saul, who never actually met Christ, but was one of his biggest sound pieces in that first century. So I don't know. That's something that I'm always interested in.
I think we'll probably get something similar to the cross.
Yeah.
Where it's going to be like, why are they doing that? I mean, I really think it's going to be something along that nature.
Oh yeah, well, so they kind of ended it with that note, like Jerry had brought up, and he's just sitting there like he sees that up in the building. He goes, "What's that? Oh, that's your cross." He's like, "Trigger warning!"
Yeah.
Like I went through some shit. Like, and that's like again the very humanization of Jesus in that, and that's also the big thing. What I've enjoyed about it, and what I'm sure people were worried about and freaking out about, was the humanization of God and Jesus and the way he was writing it. But you forget, he made us in his image, as they said in the book and in the fucking Bible.
Well, without getting too theological, the whole point of Jesus coming to earth was to live as man, so that he would understand what man went through to understand the trials that we have. Yeah. That was kind of the whole point.
Exactly.
So to be upset over the humanity of Jesus means you really don't get your own Bible that you're upset about.
And as we've said it. A lot of people have said it. Like, it's easy to get mad when you can hide behind a religious belief, and I think that's what a lot of people who freaked out early on about this just want to be mad about something, and they want to use that. It's an easy way to do it without them thinking there's going to be no callback on it. No one's going to call you out on that shit, unfortunately.
I find myself feeling really bad for Shyman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy got the short end of the stick all around. Like and this is not a figure that I'm familiar with. So Jesus had brothers, and obviously he was like all kids and had friends and stuff like that. And that's one thing that Mark Russell does point out in this book, that all of his by the time Jesus was in his 30s and was doing the work that he is known for, all his family was dead, like except for his mom. But his dad and his brothers had all been murdered, which is its own story in and of itself. But I don't know. I wonder if Shyman, and I'm going to say Shyman because that's how I read it in my head, and it reminds me of somebody who just says Shyman. I wonder if he is an actual historical figure, and that maybe is going to take some Google work on my part to figure that out. But the kid, his mother was a prostitute or a sex worker, if that's what you prefer to say, but was ignored by his family, was cast out, was raised almost as an orphan, and was adopted into Christ's family. And then in many ways, Christ abandoned him, his own friend, to go off and do the work. Like he had to, he gave him his own shot, but he had to go off and do his own work. And then to be turned around and shunned by everybody.
I think he's going to end up being the Apostle Simon.
You think so?
Yeah,
okay.
And then the one thing is that Jesus' brother, one of the apostles, is one of his brothers. James was his brother. So even though this book says he was killed or whatever, I don't know that maybe he had already moved off before the family was killed or whatever.
No, James, the Apostle James. He did have a brother named James, but that was not the same one.
Oh, okay.
No, that's a different figure.
Okay.
the point of him going and getting the apostles is
I think you're
went
wrong,
to-
but we'll go ahead and.
We'll Google it later. But he went out he went and found others.
I know he did find others. So
But Google Wars, me and Craig.
Listen, it was a long time ago. There was only probably one person named James
With
at the
12
time.
personality.
Yeah.
Split up. Well, do we have any last thoughts on this?
solid book. Go read it.
Absolutely amazing. Go out and get it, yeah.
Is it making it on the pull lists?
Yep, it is mine.
I'm mad I didn't pick up the first issue myself.
Yeah, if I can find the first issue.
Yeah.
Probably.
I'm actually, even if I don't have the first one, I think I'm going to go ahead and add it to the pull list. But I need to find the first issue.
Do we know if it's going to be like just a mini-series, max series? What are they going for?
I don't.
Oh, I'm sure this is a miniseries.
Yeah.
That's got to be.
There's like 6 issues or so is what we're thinking.
I'm girding myself because I know the further we get into the series, the worse kind of person I'm going to feel. I can see that already. So,
It's going to make you feel better.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just by the nature of what it is. Well, all right. Well, go put that book on your pull list. Go check it out. Swing by our Facebook group and let us know what you thought about it. And that's all we've got for that comic. Now, normal on most episodes, I'd say 50% of the episodes that we do, we talk about comics that we all like that we've read this week. But this week was San Diego Comic-Con weekend, and so we're fixing to drop a epic butt ton of news on you. And I'm not actually sure what the measurement to that would be.
Epic butt
weight,
ton.
A weight.
It's
segment
not
on that.
quite as much as a fuck ton, but it's close.
And it's quite a few leagues under a metric shit ton. So.
So my favorite thing that spins out of this weekend with the with San Diego Comic-Con are the Eisner Awards. And if you don't know what the Eisner Awards are, it's kind of the I would say it's the Grammys of comics. It's the Oscars of comics. It is quite possibly the most prestigious award that you can win in this industry. And it kind of, the people who win these awards are the rock stars of the industry, so to speak. And that took place this past weekend. And some of these were surprising that won awards, but some were not. And so winners included, let's see, Tom King took home 4 Eisners. He won for best writer, best short story. He won for let's see,
Limited series
for Mr. Miracle, and best graphic album reprint for The Vision. Ed Brubaker. He won Best Graphic Album New category for My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies with Sean Phillips. There was just a ton. So were there any that really just knocked you guys off your feet? Have you read many of these books that won Eisner Awards?
I haven't read the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man 310, but it was nice to see Zdarsky win for that. I heard it's a phenomenal issue, and I think it was the last issue before that book was ended. So that one, Giant Days, which I wish I had stayed on.
Yeah, John Allison.
Yeah, I'm still collecting it, but I've fallen behind on my reading on it. So supposedly is a fantastic book.
I'm happy to see Tom King get best writer nom, and Junji Ito for best adaptation of a previous writing, something like that, for his Frankenstein,
Right, for his Frankenstein
adaptation.
book.
So I was really happy to see that.
Mitch Gerards for his work in Mr. Miracle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that fucking art was fantastic in that book.
You mean
All
Jared's?
8,000 panels.
Is it Jared? Sorry. And then Dustin Nguyen for Descender for best painter, multimedia artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does absolutely everything in Descender and Ascender.
I don't typically like the watercolor style in comic books, but when Dustin Nguyen does it, I like it.
Yeah, and he absolutely killed it in that book.
And I don't know about y'all, and I think the winners deserve to win, but I was really disappointed that Immortal Hulk did not walk away with it. I
bet it
really
does
wanted
this year.
that. Really wanted that book to come out. That being said, I was happy to see Gideon Falls, Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino win that, especially for Sorrentino's art. Like that guy. He makes his panels look like you're seeing them through some type of lens. Like sometimes you have this fisheye lens that he's
Yeah.
doing. Sometimes you're getting this panoramic view that he's doing. He's really doing work that I'm not familiar with and I haven't seen very often.
Only him.
Yeah,
He does that
it's just-
zoom in, like if something's happening, you know, somebody's legs getting broken, he'll zoom in
It
and show you
focuses
that-
on the action
Yeah.
and everything. Yeah.
And have you guys read? So the best short story that Tom King won the award for was the Swamp Thing Winter Special. Have you guys read that?
I have not read
Yep,
that.
I read it.
Oh my god!
I read it.
It is. Oh, it's so good. But so I've got. No, go ahead, Sean.
Oh, just a little side note, just going because unfortunately I haven't read most of the stuff that got nominated. There's a lot of them that hadn't won. But I just wanted to point out that during an award ceremony, that someone had to get up on the podium and announce his name out loud. It just makes me happy. For winner of best academic / scholarly work, the title is "Sweet Little Cunt," the graphic work of Julie Doucet, and someone had to go say that out loud. I had to point that out.
So our friend and pod brother Jason Wood actually put together some really cool statistics about the Eisners that I want to, if you missed it on our Facebook page, he put together like the people who have won the most Eisners that I found kind of fascinating. And I just wanted to read it on the show, and I hope he's okay with that, because I'm asking for forgiveness and not permission. So Tom King won 4 Eisners this year, and he also won Best Writer for the second consecutive year. He joins Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, Brian Bendis, and Ed Brubaker, and Brian K. Vaughan as the only writers to win Best Writer in consecutive years. That's good company, right? He also, that group is the only group of writers to ever win multiple Best Eisners, consecutively or not. Alan Moore has 9 Eisners.
Ooh.
Neil Gaiman has 4. Brian K. Vaughan and Ed Brubaker are the only writers with 3 Best Writer nods. Mitch Gerards, who won Best Artist for Mr. Miracle, he's only the 3rd artist to win Best Artist in consecutive years. And the other were P. Craig Russell and John Cassaday. Gerards is just the 7th artist to win more than once.
It's Jared's, according to Matt.
Matt knows. Matt knows best. So Jared's, he joined Steve Rude, who has 5 Eisners, P. Craig Russell with 4, John Cassaday with 3, Fiona Staples with 2, Al Williamson with 2, and Kevin Nolan with 2. Todd Klein dominates the lettering field. He has 18 Eisners.
Wow.
That's insane. Cover artists who have a tendency to win in bunches. You've got James John. Is it Gene or John? I'm not sure. He has 6. Brian Boland has 5. Alex Ross has 4, which was surprising to me. David Aja has 3.
That it's a low number for Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sean, you'll like this one. Stan Sakai has 6 Eisners.
He does.
You know what 4 of them were for?
Only because I read this post lettering.
Yeah. Who knew?
Like I said, don't dog out on letterers. They'll eventually they could become the next Stan Sakai.
All in all, Alan Moore has 25 Eisners total.
Oh, I'd say 5. That's
no, his
surprising.
9 was for Best Writer. He has 25 total. Chris Ware has 22 total. Todd Klein has 18. Neil Gaiman has 17. And Mike Mignola has 14. You can find this list and go on down the line. I do want to send a shout out to Jill Thompson, who's rocking it with 13. She's one of the only women other than Fiona Staples on the list, and that is a goddamn crime. When you think about some of the amazing
You're
female
seeing
writers.
more, though. You're seeing more recognition now, so that's going to
Absolutely.
change a little bit. Also, more women in the industry.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Gail Simone doesn't have more, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Especially for her Birds of Prey series that she did.
I do want to point out also that Matt Wilson winning Best Color.
Yes.
He killed it on those books
Mhm.
this year. Wicked and Divine's been fantastic. Paper Girls and Mighty Thor, Runaways. I mean, he's just kills it on colors. So
And he was your favorite colorist this year,
he
right?
was.
At least so far in 2019?
Yeah.
Nice. All right, well, they announced some comics news. Not
Should we
just
get into
Eisner
that?
news. I think we should. I'm excited about this. So some of the biggest news this year was that Jonathan Hickman was taking over the X-Men titles. And they'd already announced 2 different titles. But this year at San Diego Comic-Con the other day, they dropped 4 more on us, and one of which he's co-writing, but they pretty much announced that, yes, he is in charge of the X line, but you're getting other X books. So you're getting X-Men, just a self-titled, no adjective, X-Men. Jonathan Hickman and Lionel Francis Yu is doing that book. You're getting a book that I'm really going to be excited about, Excalibur #1 by
Yeah.
Tini Howard.
Yeah.
Marcus Toe, and the covers are going to be Mahmoud Asrar.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that one.
And if you look at the cover, this like Excalibur with Gambit and Jubilee, that's badass. And Captain Britain, a female Captain Britain.
The team makeup for most of these are gonna make me buy multiple these different series alone.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype behind these. Marauders by Jerry Duggan and Matteo Lawley with covers by Russell Dodderman.
Excited about that one.
That's going to be a good book. Let's see, we've got a book. I mean, nobody's excited about this, but it's New Mutants.
Yeah, nobody at all.
Issue #1 is being co-written by Jonathan Hickman and Ed Brisson. Issue #2 is just going to be Jonathan Hickman by himself. Pencils by Rod Rice, which is a good call, and covers by Rod Rice. Rice or Reese? Do we know?
I think it's Reese.
I think it is.
We'll go with Reese.
Yeah,
Chamber being in the middle of this cover is fucking metal.
the addition of Chamber and Mondo from Gen X into the team, as well as all the classic ones, including bringing back Doug, aka Cypher, with his Warlock arm, I'm hyped for this book.
The only book when I look at this list that I just can tell you right off the bat I'm not going to buy and don't care about is Fallen Angels #1, and it's written by Brian Edward Hill, but that's not why I don't care. But it's penciled by Kudaransky, who fuck that dumpster fire of an artist. I'm not.
Is
doing
it because of the Punisher stuff he did?
It's all of his stuff.
Okay.
That's what all of his stuff looked like. He's just not. If I say that, if you want this book, that's more power to you.
I will probably get this book just to check it out.
I'm probably gonna get at least the first issue.
Brian Hill's very dependable.
He is, but so is Kudaransky to be dependably bad. So just not having it.
I actually have the original Fallen Angels complete run.
Do you?
Actually, that's the very first thing I ever bought from Kapow Comics.
That's badass, dude.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got X-Force #1. I was trying to goad Matt because Kudaransky's the artist on the Punisher right now.
Oh.
And like Matt was goading me earlier in an earlier episode on something, but he's not taking my bait.
We're
So
talking
I tried to get him there by even bringing up Punisher.
We're talking about X titles.
X-Force #1 by Benjamin Percy and Joshua Cassara. Covers by Dustin Weaver.
It's X-Force. I'll give it a shot.
It's X-23's in it.
Yeah, along with Wolverine was in everything, but you've got Kid Omega in this. I think that might be Monet, but I'm not 100% sure that's on the cover. You've got my boy Colossus, who's a big hunk of metal. That's
Domino, Jean Grey.
Jean Grey in the original Marvel Girl outfit.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I love it, man.
I think she's been wearing it since she came back, though.
And I know in that promo image they had her on there like just in the forefront.
Sometimes not wearing the mask, but the rest of the outfit
Yeah.
she's been wearing for sure. So,
Are there any of these books that are for you guys at the table that are hitting your interest more than others? Like what do you think is going to be the standout with this?
The House of 10 and Powers of 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stoked about that.
New Mutants for me, of course, is the big one, but Excalibur coming back
Yeah.
also was big for me.
New Mutants and X-Force, for sure.
Excalibur and X-Force for me. But I'm going to get them all. I mean, just if we're being 100%
Yeah,
honest,
for-
I'm signing up for all of them.
For me, it's adjectiveless X-Men and X-Force. Those are the two that I'm the most happy about. But like seeing Excalibur, of course, is good stuff. Speaking of things that you're looking forward to, and I know this because you sent me a text message the other day, just giddy as all get out, Matt. They announced that we are getting a Joker one-shot. And not only are we getting a Joker one-shot, but it's going to be co-written by none other than film legend John Carpenter. So what about, like, what are you looking for out of this?
Well, I was very interested when I saw this announced because John Carpenter was attached to it. But then I read the synopsis and I was like, oh man, this has got the setup to really be on target for me. The synopsis describes the story as Joker is setting himself about to remind everybody why he's the worst villain there is. And, Lex Luthor and his work and offering, essentially getting out there and offering, I guess you would say, superpowers to the villain community. Joker's not taking him up on that. Joker apparently is out to demonstrate he doesn't need that to be the worst villain available. Mm-hmm. So what John Carpenter does, to portray Joker as the worst, I'm very interested to see.
And for me, actually, the big news for me too is Anthony Birch, who is the writer of one of my favorite video games, Borderlands 2.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering what he had written.
Yeah, they worked together on the Big Trouble in Little China comic as well.
Okay.
But Borderlands 2 is one of my favorite video games. Was this action, humor, and character, and like him writing the Joker story as well with John Carpenter. Yeah, I'm 100% on this book.
Yeah, man, Philip Tan doing the art on this is what I'm looking forward to. I'm always curious when you get these people that come over that already have a big name behind them when they come over from like film like this. We just got, what was it, J.J. Abrams is going to be writing a comic with his son, and that got a lot of hype, and a lot of people were like, well, right, but can he write comics? So I'm always curious about that. And I'm not saying he can't by any means. It's John fucking Carpenter. So
if you can write a movie script, you can write a comic script.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same thing.
I mean, yeah, Carpenter has been basically writing comic book movies without any comic book, source material most of his career. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I hope we get Halloween John Carpenter and not Ghost to Mars John Carpenter.
ooh, you make a very
we don't talk about the Mars, Greg.
Also, jumping over to Marvel, it was announced that they are going to be leaning heavily into bringing back the 2099 stuff.
Yeah.
And it's going to spin out of the Amazing Spider-Man 25, which I know, Matt, you thought was a really good book. I love Miguel O'Hara. If we're going to talk about alternate Spider-Man, I think Miguel O'Hara, like his Peter David run, obviously who is the most known for writing that character, but even Hulk 2099. Like there was so much cool stuff. I think Magnolia did some 2099 work. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah. Do you think this was foreshadowed into the Spider-Verse with Miguel's little quick appearance at the end? Or
No,
just a
I don't think
coincidence?
so.
I think it was directly tied to that? No, but I also don't think Marvel's stupid.
Right.
And so, like, I think they're putting that character in as many places, do as many things. I think this might have, I think that came first. I think if we're talking about chicken and egg situation, I think like seeing Miguel O'Hara,
Just a little sprinkle, of, hey, remember this guy?
So 2099 stuff is kind of a blind spot for me other than the Spider-Man stuff.
Okay.
But I do love Miguel O'Hara. I love the contradiction in his name, that you have a Hispanic first name with a Irish last name, which kind of shows, even back when they were writing this in the 80s, their projection was, or in the 90s, their projection that, by the time we get to 2099, the ethnicities in this country are going to be even that much more mixed. So
let's give it up for the white Hispanic guys around here.
Wait, did Peter David invent Beto O'Rourke? Is that what just happened?
pretty much. So yeah, I mean, but always have enjoyed Miguel O'Hara stuff. Every time they have a Spider-Man 2099 book, I pick it up.
There was, if you can find them, there was a series of one-shots that they did that was, I forget, I know they did Punisher 2099, X-Men 2099, X-Man 2099. And like I said,
that was just a few years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't that long. I mean, a few years, probably about 10.
Yeah.
It was in
I mean, it wasn't all the way back to the 90s.
No. It was, but they were really good. If you can find those, check them out. I'll see if I can dig them out, and maybe I'll post them on our Facebook page.
Pat Mills wrote Punisher 2099.
Did he?
He did. It's got a very 2000 AD feel to it.
Yeah.
I bet it does.
So does Pat Mills. So y'all know how I like little known villains, right?
Yeah.
Marvel's bringing back this really obscure character that no one knows about, and his name is Doctor Doom. He was a guy, like he was a blip in the Fantastic Four series.
Man, deep pulls here, man. No one's heard of him.
So he's getting he's getting a new ongoing. Now they say it's ongoing. This is one of those things where they're going to tell us it's an ongoing, and we're going to find out it's 12 issues. But it is being written by Christopher Cantwell with art by Salvador LaRocca. And so essentially, I think they're just doing a deep dive into who Doctor Doom is.
Well, is it going to be the new Doctor Doom or the old Doctor Doom? What are we getting exactly? Are they going to do an anti-hero type Doctor Doom?
Well,
I didn't really.
In the solicit, it says that a catastrophic act of terror kills thousands, and the prime suspect is Doom. Victor will have to push his unexplained thoughts aside and focus on remaining alive as the title of Most Wanted Man is thrust upon him. Left with no homeland, no armies, no allies, and indeed nothing at all, will the reign of Doctor Doom come to an abrupt halt?
No. I'm going to just go ahead and answer that.
I like this because Doctor Doom is a man of power. Like he's always the man on top of the mountain. Making him the man on the run, almost a fugitive type character, that could be a really compelling story.
Oh, I'm in for this. I'm totally in for this.
I'm sure the entire time he'll be blaming Reed Richards for it. So,
Well,
Our buddy Castro will be big on this one as well.
in the past few weeks, I have read a lot of Brian Azzarello books. I went through the entire series of 100 Bullets. I read the Joker series that he did with Lee Bermejo, which was the first time that team got together, who was the same team on Batman Damned. So when I saw this next bit of news, I got really excited because what I've read in the past 2 weeks kind of made me forget I didn't care for Batman Damned nearly as much. And they are doing a Birds of Prey series. It's going to be starring Harley Quinn, which is, that's the part I don't
think it's starring her. She's just in it.
Well, I mean, I have the
starring.
Yeah, the Newsarama thing pulled up, and that's the draw, right? And I get that. So that she's one of DC's most beloved characters as far as mainstream goes. So I get why they would throw her in the middle of it.
no, it also with the team as being Harley, Huntress, and Black Canary. That's also the team in the upcoming movie. So I think it's like either I don't know if necessarily tied to the movie as far as story, but I think they're getting readers who want to go see the movie used to the team. So I think that's a big play as well as Harley being one of their most popular characters.
Well, and Harley, the artwork I've seen for it, she looks more like a mixture of classic Harley and current Harley.
And I don't know this artist is Emanuela Lupacino, Ray McCarthy, and Trish Mulvihill. I don't know those guys, but they put on like Craig said they put out some pages that they've already gotten drawn, and it looks good.
Yeah, it does look good.
Looks really good. Do we know who this version of Huntress is? So this is like I am not.
I think it's Bertinelli because she was in that miniseries with Grayson.
Okay.
When he was the spy, she was the spy. I think it's
the Tom King run.
Yeah. So I think it's the Bertinelli version.
Yeah, because it's the recent
Huntress.
costume they put in. So I'm guessing. I know Huntress has been multiple people. So
she's been Bertinelli, Helena Bertinelli, and Helena Wayne.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think they're doing the alternate Earth Helena Wayne. I think they're doing the Bertinelli
that would make more sense.
They've had her in the current universe. She was just in something not too long ago where they were talking about needing to get with her on something. So I figure it's her.
Yeah.
They haven't announced that, but that's just me assuming that.
It's just it's.
She's my favorite version of the Huntress, anyways.
I need to go back and read up more on that character because what little I know of and have read about her spins out. I mean, some of the Gail Simone stuff, but also that really, really bad 90s sitcom that only made it one season.
I loved that show.
I have it on DVD.
I have it on DVD.
It's
I
fantastic.
loved that. I was so
never seen
disappointed
it.
when that show was canceled. It's on the DC Universe app.
I also have I say bad in the most lovingly way possible.
Right.
Like I love that the Witchblade show that came out made it one season. They were amazing.
Hey, Birds of Prey gave us Mark Hamill as the Joker.
Yeah.
Shadowed
true.
out, but he was in makeup and costume and doing the animated series voice. So if nothing else, we have that.
Yeah, so I mean, we haven't had a good Birds of Prey since New 52, so
No.
I'm really hoping this is going back to kind of the old good Birds of Prey we used to have.
So this next announcement, I know, made Craig really happy, and in theory, in spirit, it made me really happy. So they announced that we are going to be getting a book called Rise of Kylo Ren. That is going to be the history of, by my best guesstimation, it's the Knights of Ren and some of his backstory.
It's the fall of Kylo Ren, how he falls from being Ben Solo and becomes Kylo Ren to his rise of being the leader of the Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
So I think it's a 5-issue miniseries or a 4-issue miniseries. So
I'm my notes.
I'm excited for it because Charles Soule has done some fantastic Star Wars work. Regardless of what you think about some of his other stuff, his run on Darth Vader was great. His run on Poe Dameron was really good.
I've heard good things about his Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, his Star Wars stuff is really, really good. So I'm excited for this. I can't wait. It's going to be great. Even Matt, the proprietor of the Kapow, the local comic book store we go to, is actually excited for this one. So
Yeah.
that tells you something when Matt's excited for a Star Wars.
Until
thing
he
that-
says that books don't count for continuity and he hates it.
I'm really glad they're telling this story in comics.
for sure.
I'm glad that they are not opting to just do it in a film or that they're going to do it in prose somewhere. I really do hope, and so far these hopes have been they've been for naught because they haven't really worked. But I really do hope that this draws some more readers into the comic shops to read these books.
So one thing that that Disney is doing really well with the Star Wars franchise is they are mixing up where you get your canon from a wide variety of places.
Right.
And I listen to a lot of Star Wars podcasts, and they all reference to the comic books.
Yeah.
Now they all talk about that. There's a book coming out with Snoke in it, and everybody's super excited about that. So it's getting promoted by a wide variety of podcasts now, not just comic podcasts. So hopefully it will start bringing people through the door.
I hope so.
And it's smart on Disney and Lucasfilm's part to spread that out over multiple mediums. So
Especially with a character as big as Kylo Ren. I mean,
Yes.
Dark Horse did a little bit of that with like some minor characters during the prequel eras.
right,
But with like this, I mean, this is a main figure.
yeah,
So like that's hell of exciting and,
For
and
sure.
good for them for doing that. Hey, do you remember a few weeks ago when DC cleared house and canceled everything because they weren't going to have any imprints?
Yeah.
Remember that? Like when
Yeah.
they canceled Vertigo because no imprints, and
Yeah.
they had like 25 imprints, and they
they're-
decided to make Black Label the only one.
yeah.
They're totes done with imprints.
They are. In fact, they're so done with imprints that they just announced they're doing a new imprint. And it is going to, and it's actually one I'm glad they're doing.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It is the DC graphic novels for young adults. Is going. Maybe they can work on a better name, but that's what they're calling it so far.
I'm sure it'll have a different.
So they've got a series,
in YA.
right? That's something. But they're doing books called like they've got one preview called Gotham High by Melissa De La Cruz and Thomas Patili. There's one called Shadow of the Batgirl by Sarah Kuhn and artist Nicole Go, I think is how you say her name. The Lost Carnival, a Dick Grayson graphic novel by Michael Morrissey and Sass Millage. By the way, how awesome would it be to have a name like Sass? That's great. You've got Teen Titans Raven by Cami Garcia and Gabriel Piccolo. And then Mira Tidebreaker, which I think that actually are the...
Raven's already out.
Yeah, and I think Mira Tidebreaker is already out as well.
It is.
By Daniela Page and Stephen Byrne. And then you've got Wonder Woman Warbringer, adapted by Louise Simonson, the amazing Louise Simonson, with Kit Seaton on the art. I love this because one of my biggest issues now that I'm the Sunday guy at a comic shop, and I think, Jerry, you had a similar problem, is when kids walk in, I have a very limited space to which I can send them comfortably, or I have to hold their hand as we go through the wall and like, yes, this is rated a teen book, but this is for you. But this also is rated a teen book, and you can't read this until you at least are 4 foot tall. And so I'm glad to see that they are actively producing more books for kids because we need that. Not everything should be written with 30-year-old dudes in mind.
Right.
So good on them for that. I'm curious about this. Are there any characters that you guys would like to see them do YA stuff on out of DC?
I mean, I feel like we really need a Teen Titans book.
Yeah.
For young was it young adults?
That would make a lot of sense. Yeah, it really would.
Yeah.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. I would especially like these new characters, Crush and Roundhouse, because like with the base of their origins and stuff and what they're dealing with as already being teens, I think that would be a really good fit for this line.
Right.
Yeah. There's plenty of characters in the Young Justice animated series that those people would just eat up.
I'd love to see a Red Robin YA book.
Yeah.
Or a Super Sons YA book with those characters. That'd be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And that would make so much sense. Like, I don't understand why they didn't make that. Same with the Young Justice comic.
Yeah. I really hope Marvel and some of the other publishers follow suit with this too, because Marvel, you've got the Marvel action books that are fit for all ages, but the very few stuff is quote unquote YA from Marvel, and I hope they follow suit, man. It'd be great to have a bigger kids section, especially in this store and in stores in general. So Jeff Lemire is not quite done with the Black Hammer universe. Fortunately. And they announced this week that you are getting a new Black Hammer title that centers on Skull Digger and Skeleton Boy, which are two. Have these characters shown up yet?
No.
I haven't seen them.
When I was looking into it, the article I read mentioned that they were teased in the World of Black Hammer Encyclopedia.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the only
it.
time I've seen them referenced. It's also they also reference how Dr. Star's name has changed. He's Dr. Andromeda in that, and that was a lot of question.
Oh, nice.
A lot of people had a lot of questions about that. So it's going to be Jeff Lemire and Dean Ormston, and this is going to be a 6-issue series. I'm really excited about this because as we were talking last night, what Jeff Lemire is doing with the Black Hammer universe is really spreading it across genre. Mm-hmm. He's created one thing, but he's showing you how you can do sci-fi, you can do horror, you can do. In this case, I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be, but you can do all of these different type of genre stories utilizing characters that spin out of the same world, much the same way that they used to do with superheroes. They don't do it as much anymore. And I would like to see them do that more.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because as far as I can think, other than that issue that we had of the forgotten animal sidekicks, we haven't really had many heroes in Black Hammer that's had like a little sidekick or anything. So maybe this is going to be like kind of his answer to Batman and Robin sort of thing is what I'm seeing at it. And I mean, even more exciting than just announcing Skulldigger is they're saying that this is the start of his next phase of books that he's going to be launching for the Black Hammer universe. So
his mind is a fun place. I don't know where he pulls all this stuff out.
God bless Jeff Lemire.
Just seriously.
Yeah. How many lifetimes has he lived to create all this stuff?
He's got to be one of the most diverse writers working today. I mean, for him to be able to write a book like Underwater Welder and Roughneck, which are these really like slice of life, heavy psychological books, then to go on and write, Black Hammer 45 or the Black Hammer Justice League stuff or the stuff he's done for Marvel.
Sweet Tooth.
Yeah, he really does spread the gamut.
Yeah.
In a way that I don't know that any other. He's able to traverse styles in a way that I don't know that any other artist or writer has ever been able to do.
Most stick to a specific genre or two. Mm-hmm. But he seems to go into any genre he wants to. You can't
hold a good man down. You can't hold him down. You can't do it. Can't hold that man down.
I ain't even going to try.
Nope. It's a bad idea.
You can hope to contain him, but you can't stop him.
He's going to break them. He'll break out. He will. He'll do it. I have faith. So one of the biggest things I saw come out of Image Comics, there wasn't a lot of Image news.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. There was not a lot of comics news that reached us through the outlets that their job is to reach out and collect comic news. They were worried about other things all weekend. But so like when you have
Caleb's not better.
When you have people, I mean, Bleeding Cool, you have Newsarama, IO9 when they're only putting out like 10 things that came out, because if you go on Twitter you find out all of these things that were announced by like smaller creators, indie presses, Marvel, even like DC announced that their next big book, which is going to be it's Stranger. I forgot the title of it. Anyway, it's the next Tom King, Mitch Gerard's book, and it's
Strange Adventures.
Yeah, Strange Adventures.
Yeah,
thank you, Craig. Like they announced that on Twitter.
Which is going to be fantastic.
It's going to win Eisner's next year. But the one thing that they did announce comes from Snyder, Charles Soule, and Commune Coley. I said that. Yay! They unveiled a new book called Undiscovered Country at Image, and I don't know if I'm going to pick up this one, but I put it on the list because I think some of you other guys might enjoy it. It's going to be a creator-owned series. It's going to launch in November. It's going to explore the eerie ripple effects of isolation. If you look at the cover, it's got North America, but all of the United States is blacked out. Takes a heavy look at Canada and Mexico and Cuba. I really don't know what to expect out of this. This is going to be a book I pick up the first issue because there's going to be a lot of hype behind it, but I am not a fan of Scott Snyder. I really don't. I can't, other than his Batman stuff, there were like 3 arcs that I thought were okay, but they looked better because the rest of the New 52 was terrible. And I haven't read American Vampire, which I hear great things about.
His independent creator-owned stuff is much, much better than his superhero stuff.
I mean, I was going to say, I don't know how you feel about Animal Man, but his Animal Man run was really good.
Yeah, I tried.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just a little more about the plot is that our main characters are from, I believe, South America, and there's kind of a plague going around, and they're actually going to break into America, who has isolated itself completely from the rest of the world, to try and find a cure. And apparently, what we're going to find is like how different America is from what we know as. So I think it's going to be a real interesting, like I said, interesting look into America and all. The whole wall building thing is obviously very poignant to what's going on now, and I think it's kind of going in that direction. Yeah. I'm super interested in this book.
I'm always curious to see what book is going to restore any faith I have in Charles Soule outside of his Star Wars stuff, and just give me anything to care about Scott Snyder, because I just don't. But I do like Communicoli's work. His work is great. And so that's going to be a book you're going to want to watch out for. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of hype behind that book because whether or not I like them or not, those two people have big followings. Like they're big names in the industries. And like I said, like y'all just named off a bunch of books that you love. So I'm sure that there's going to be, this book is going to have some fire behind it. Yeah. All right. So the big news that spun out, the news that everybody paid attention to and went out of their way to make sure that was everywhere. I say, look, I say this, I'm being a little salty. I'm saying it in jest, but it really does bother me that look, the rest of the world loves the films, right? And everybody, I love the films. We talk about these all the time. It really bothers me that the comic industry itself is buying into this thing where they're more concerned about the films and television shows than the comics. I get that everybody else is. You expect to see the Marvel stuff on Entertainment Weekly. You expect to see the New York Times and all of these major publications posting this. But if you're the comics publishers, if you're the comics news outlets, pay a fucking attention to the comics, please. You shouldn't have to dig. Like looking for this news and stuff, they're just short blips about the information from people that fancy themselves comics journalists. Yeah. And it drives me insane.
Which is more of a commentary on comic journalism than on the comic news release. And maybe the publisher should be better about issuing press statements at these big conventions where they announce this stuff. New York, San Diego.
Well, now that
Emerald City.
Now that the publishers are owned by these billion-dollar media companies, the billion-dollar media companies are going to dictate what dominates the announcements, and that's their moneymakers, which are the movies.
Right. And I agree with that, but the thing is it's not that the announcements aren't being made. Maybe they're not being made with a megaphone, but they're announcing new comic stuff. And so book like the Jonathan Hickman X books got a lot of hype behind them. So I mean, it's not like there weren't some things that they tied into, but especially in the comics community or journalism period, people pay attention to what you tell them to pay attention to. Yeah. So if you're writing for IO9, go to a panel where they're talking about comics and report on what they said. When you've got Tom King winning 4 Eisners, maybe make it a bigger deal than what. Like I said, these other mainstream news outlets are going to be paying attention to the movies. Everybody is. They're the blockbusters. We all get that, but fuck, it really is a bastardization of the industry, and it's a letdown to people who are working their ass off to put their stuff out there when you're like, oh yeah, you won 4 Eisners, but do you know about what the thing that they're going to tell us about the Spider Dude tomorrow is? That sucks. And I put up a status last night because I was up in my fields and I was salty, and a lot of people were like, well, it's the biggest thing and that's what's going to garner the most hype, and I don't disagree with that. I mean, it's true. It's absolutely true. I don't disagree with that at all. But from comics people, you should and can expect better.
Yeah. Well, like I said, if nothing else, they should release a press statement with more than just a blurb about all their new big series that are starting. And if they would do that, if you hand a press statement to all of these press outlets, it's going to get published because all they have to do is copy that publication.
I mean, yes and no, because half the time they bury it on page 6, to use the quote. They'll put it out there, but they're not reaching. Yeah. And the movies and the televisions, they don't need help from Newsarama.
But Newsarama gets paid by the click.
I know it. I'm just bitter old man. I'm frustrated.
Get off your lawn.
It bothers me.
We're talking comics.
Right.
Well, now we're talking movies.
Now we're going to talk movies.
As I say that as we talk about movies. So Marvel announced, I think what is arguably the biggest announcement of the weekend is they laid out the roadmap for Phase 4 of their cinematic universe. And last night, the internet went insane. So in May 2020,
I woke up to 45 fucking texts about this.
Yep. People were chatting. They were chatty Cathys about it. So in May 2020, you're getting Black Widow, which we knew, right?
Yeah.
November 5th of 2020, you're getting Eternals, which they had told us about.
Yes.
We already got that. News to me, and they kind of unveiled these over time. February 2021, which I'm really, really excited about. You're giving us Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings.
Yeah, they are.
That's going to be amazing. Like, I'm now glad that they didn't do Shang-Chi in the Netflix stuff, even though I was bitter about it at the time. Father knows the trust in the machine, apparently. Craig. May 7th, 2021.
I'm not taking your bait.
They are giving us Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which sounds great.
Yes.
And then the thing that people really latched onto and just could not believe, lost their minds about, is going to come November 5th of 2021, and that is Thor 4, Love and Thunder, directed by Taika Waititi, the guy who did Thor 3. And like this this hit like a bomb.
I have thoughts on the Thor thing, but before we go there, I didn't see Blade on that list, but
wasn't there yet.
Doctor Strange was kind of mentioned as the first horror, not horror movie.
Yeah,
the director going to have.
The director has stated, like, I'm making the first scary MCU film. So
good.
That's real intriguing.
So they stated that before they released the trailer, and then people thought it was a horror movie, so then they had to go back and reshoot some stuff.
Yes. So
don't bring up my pen.
So what else do we have? I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were still going.
You're good. I'm cheating and using the internet. So they also announced Captain Marvel 2, which that got some fanfare, but the two biggest ones, and we'll lead up to the one that I think really, other than Thor 4, really got the most attention. They announced that there is a Fantastic Four movie. That it is coming. They announced that X-Men are coming. They didn't. There's not dates for this, but they're in pre-production, like they're preliminary talks for it. But last but certainly not least, and the thing that I just got giddy over, if I could get giddy over it, they are doing Blade. And not only are they doing Blade, they're doing Blade with Mahershala Ali.
Yes.
Mega award-winning, fantastic actor. Wonderful person, Mahershala Ali.
I'm totally cool with this casting, and I love this movie, but he's already got a part in the MCU.
Yeah, that's true, and they're not. It doesn't count.
I guess
Arkansan.
Are they going to say that Netflix stuff is not part of it anymore?
I guess.
Well, they canceled the shit out of them.
Well, I mean, I realize the shows
Caleb's
are canceled,
surprised.
but they were always considered part of the MCU.
Yeah, they were always tangentially a part of it, because and they mentioned like the events,
and the big green guy, and
so was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I guess they're just not. I guess that answers that question for us.
Yeah, and I mean, like, anyway, with all the Netflix stuff, they never officially tied it into the movies.
Right.
They mentioned plenty of stuff in it, but none of those characters met any of these characters, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And he's playing a completely different character anyway. So
I mean, I'm great with the casting. I'm not bitching about it.
Can we go back to this Thor thing and talk about how it doesn't mention Beta Ray Bill in the title at all?
It does not.
I want to go back to it because we had 3 movies now where Thor no longer has his hammer. And they set up specifically that he is no longer, he's not a god of the hammer. And we're going to get Lady Thor, which is fantastic. I'm fine, bring her in. I don't know how they're going to do it. There's no hammer for her to take to give her the powers.
Right.
And are they going to drain Thor of his powers when she does it?
Well, and that was kind of interesting too, because at the press conference or whatever that they had, Taiki was handing Natalie Portman Mjolnir. So, I mean, you got to assume that somehow there's going to be a Mjolnir back into the mix, and she is going to get it.
It's going to be interesting to how they do it. And I'm like I'm saying, I'm totally fine with it, and it'll be interesting to see how Natalie Portman plays that character. I'm a little interested in how they're going to do it when you've had three movies where Thor specifically did not have his hammer and actually handed it back to Steve Rogers when he did have it.
Yeah,
So,
I was going to say, because they had to take it back in, if I'm remembering,
Yeah.
let's take
Steve
it back
took
in
it with
time,
him,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And even during the
Stormbringer.
fight, though, he didn't want it because he's wielding Stormbringer, and he's no longer, the hammer does not give him his powers
Right.
anymore based on the MCU. That's not comic centric. That's the MCU. So
They also haven't announced a new Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
they
Did I
have
miss
not
that?
announced it yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we know it's coming because they've announced the director and all of that.
Yeah. You would think that would come before
Yeah, I think
the
they
next Thor movie.
they may have mentioned because there was like a blurb of stuff like the X-Men. We don't no release dates. Yes, we're working on X-Men. We're working on that. They may have mentioned Guardians. They also mentioned Black Panther 2.
Yeah.
So I think it may have been mixed in with that. But yeah, obviously Thor is coming first. So.
Yeah.
Now, Blade? Yeah, I'm stoked for Blade.
Yes.
This actor is dynamite, man.
He was great as Cottonmouth and Luke Cage. So yeah, I'm
They
definitely
should
interested.
they should really bring Wesley Snipes in as Whistler, I think, or as a new Whistler.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
I would take that. I had to backpedal on that because you're already seeing people doing the whole "not my blade" thing.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Like unless Ron Perlman, who is almost 80, is playing Hellboy, they're not going to like anybody in the Hellboy suit, and unless it's Wesley Snipes, they're not going
Wesley
to like anybody.
Snipes is
but
too
Blade.
old to play
Yeah.
Blade, guys.
Yes, he is.
And Mahershala Ali is not a spring chicken either, but he's younger. He's going to be fantastic.
Wesley Snipes also has some medical stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Where he can't move around a lot.
And my understanding is that Wesley Snipes came in and actually spoke to him about it, and he put his stamp of approval on this. So everybody just needs to chill the hell
Yeah.
out.
Seriously.
If you haven't seen True Detective with Mahershala Ali, that season, I think season 3 was when he was in it. The dude is amazing. If you haven't seen Moonlight, that's a fantastic movie that he's in. A big the dude is an incredible actor. There's reasons why he wins Emmys, and for them to get him on and to open this world up to a horror, again, like we said with Doctor Strange, the horror side of things, I'm really excited about.
Oh yeah.
Over at DC, this is on the small screen. A familiar face is coming back to don the Superman outfit. They are getting Brandon Routh returning. Is it Routh or Ruth?
Routh.
I'm bad with
I
names.
said Ralph.
And he is returning as Superman in the DC's Legends of Tomorrow. In the Arrowverse crossover, you ready for this? Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yep.
If you're a DC continuity fan, you lost your mind at this. Maybe not at the Ralph Ruth casting, but at just the fact that they're actually giving us Crisis on Infinite Earth. That's amazing. If you haven't read that, strongly encourage you to. It's one of the best stories that they've done at DC. And
Well, I wonder if they're going to use it to reset their universe.
that
Yeah.
maybe.
It's possible. It also kind of makes me wonder what other Superman they're bringing in, because they also mentioned that the one that they announced or that has popped up in Supergirl from time to time is also going to be in this as well. So, two Superman, like who else are we going to have be Superman from other universes? So I'm down. I really need to get caught up on CW stuff or
Wonder
just
if they're
find a
gonna-
good starting point.
Well, I wonder if they're going to give him the gray hair and have him be the old
I don't know.
Superman.
With the way that they're able to do like facial reconstruction, like digital facial stuff, it'd be really cool if they would give us a. I just had his name on the tip of my
Christopher
tongue.
Reeve.
Christopher Reeve.
Well, Brandon Routh's Superman is Christopher Reeves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It takes place in the same universe. He left Earth after Superman 5 or 4, left for a while and came back. It's the same Superman.
Right.
Okay.
Don't know if I'm remembering this right, but I swear I saw an article that said that Ralph Superman is going to be the one from Kingdom Come.
Right.
And this,
Which would be the old
Is it
version,
still
yeah.
okay? Wasn't sure there was a. Oh, that's right. 'Cause he went back.
Yeah.
But still, kind of cool as long as he's not creeping in windows again.
Peeping Tom.
And we got no children throwing pianos. I'll be okay.
They are apparently expecting The Boys season 1 to do spectacular because they've already renewed it for season 2.
That's what I heard when it was squeeing from Matt all the way.
Right.
Yeah.
His home to mine.
That was me.
This of course, it's based off the book by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson. It is a very dark, very cynical take on superheroes, and it is very much, it should be a rated R thing, and it pleases me to no end that fucking Hardee's, the burger joint, is like making this their big promotional deal. They are promoting, like, you can go get the boys with your burger and fries.
I wonder if you can get it in a Happy Meal. That'd be
That's amazing.
Whatever their version of a Happy Meal is.
I don't know if they just completely know their customer base or if they don't know what the boys is at all.
Yeah.
But this is really funny. Or maybe that speaks to the boys. Maybe this isn't going to be as dark and as twisted as we want it to be. Maybe that bodes ill for it. I don't know.
It's got the creators' thumbs up,
Yeah.
so I'm expecting it to be pretty twisted.
Yeah, but how many things in the past have we had creators give it the thumbs up? Just
Stephen
so
King
people
gives
will
the
watch
thumbs
it.
up. On
Hey,
every
don't
movie.
let's not.
Remember when
let's not
Jeff
compare-
Johns gave the thumbs up to the Green Lantern
Oh,
movie?
did.
so you're putting Jeff Johns and Stephen King in the same category as Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson. Sounds like people have been paying attention.
I think that they're going to give a thumbs up to anything that gives them a paycheck.
Right.
That's my,
That's-
whether or not it's good or not. I mean, that's just part of it.
I disagree.
You hold on to that hope,
Yeah.
brother.
I've
I want it to be
read
great.
article after article. Garth Ennis was given opportunities to license the boys for properties, and he turned them all down because they wanted to turn the boys into a superhero property.
Right.
So he approved this based on that they were going to stick to the theme of his original story. And it's not, and he likes them to diverge from his material. He likes for people to take his properties and then do something new with it. However, sticking with the theme.
Yeah.
I hope so, man. I really do. I hope so. Is it AMC that's doing it?
It's Amazon.
Amazon. That doesn't. Okay. Rain on no one's parade. Not today.
Well, it's not out yet.
No, I'm looking for. I want to see. I want to
out
see what it
Friday.
is. With the
Really?
streaming wars being what they are, I have curiosities about some of these things that are coming on, like Amazon and like the CBS app and this, that, and the other.
Are they releasing one episode at a time, or will it be an entire season? Do we know?
Typically, they drop seasons.
Okay.
Yeah. Get
I'm trying to remember how they did with
Is it-
Good Omens.
Yeah,
I think it was just week by week, though.
Yeah, I think Omens was already out by the time I watched it, but like one of their new, like the new anime we're watching is coming out episodically.
They may be doing that
So-
then.
Yeah.
Okay, this we'll make this our last one, just for time. It's one I'm really, really excited about. At least half of it. I don't know much about the other half.
Oh, I do.
I know you do, buddy. The Russo brothers, who are spectacular storytellers and great filmmakers. They are somebody like, I don't know what God heard my prayers, probably Crom, but
He doesn't listen.
he's not he's a cruel God.
He doesn't care about prayers.
But
Doesn't
maybe
care.
he wants this more. They are giving us Grimjack. And that to me, this is a double-edged sword, because not on the one hand, we're getting fucking Grimjack. And this is Ostrander and Truman. Like, for my personal taste, Ostrander is the better version of Grant Morrison. I love the work that they did there. It is a psychobilly space pirate type thing. It breaks the fourth wall. It's meta as fuck. Tim Truman is one of my favorite artists to spin out of that British 2000 AD invasion from the Karen Berger era. I love that they are giving us this.
And it's the Russo brothers
Right.
involved at least
with that team.
on it, and it's gonna be an Amazon Prime.
If
show
you
as well.
haven't read Grimjack, you can find them. Before this news, you could find them in dollar books all day long. Now I don't know. But you should 100% go try to find those books. For me to be able to see Molten's Bar in real life, which is like the cantina from Star Wars on acid, is amazing. The double-edged sword of this, though, is that in order to do this, they have backed up Akira, and that's kind of a sad thing, because I know a lot of people they were yes.
That's actually Watati was doing Akira.
Yeah, I know, but they were that was tied into this.
I thought it was because of Thor. He put that in the
No,
back burner.
the Grim,
Oh, okay.
as far, at least from what I read, when they announced Grimjack doing the Russo brothers freed up something.
Russo brothers doing Grimjack.
Yeah.
Okay,
and that is why it
That's
made
what I heard though.
Yeah.
Watati, because he was doing Akira, and he put that on the back burner to work on Thor.
Okay, maybe that's what it was. Then maybe they just put it in the
Yeah.
same article or something.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But the other side of this is that they are also going to do Battle of the Planets
Yes, sir.
after they get done. So, and that's really cool, especially. Last Christmas, I bought you the Seasons of Gatchaman, Sean, if I pronounced that right.
Yeah.
So, why don't you tell us about what Battle of the Planets is going to be?
Battle for the Planets is it's a superheroes anime manga. I think it was just an original anime, originally called Gatchaman in Japan. It came to the States as Battle for the Planets in the, I want to say, mid-70s. And then it got released again in like the 90s and 2000s as G-Force. So this is a series that will not die. But it's about a group of basically like superheroes who have bird-themed costumes as well as vehicles who battle giant alien monsters. And this is
That's ridiculous.
I know, right? Like predecessors to like Power Rangers and all that kind of stuff. With, for you Final Fantasy fans as myself, the original character design was from Amano, who is known for his Final Fantasy art as well. But this is going to be possibly directed by the Russos. They haven't committed to that, but it will be a feature-length movie.
Nice.
So I'm very hyped to see that on the big screen.
I'm old enough to actually remember when Battle of the Planets came on in America.
Right?
Nice.
Oh yeah.
And just to correct myself and to give Jerry and Sean a thumbs up, it was the Thor 4 that delayed the Akira production. They announced it at the same time, which
Put
is
your
where
hips
I got
away, guys.
confused.
No, we'll touch tails whenever we're right, sir.
It doesn't happen very often, so.
I know, right?
I'm joking. But like I said, these weren't the only things that spun out of. It's just all we have time to talk about. What we thought was really grabbed our attention. You can come to our Facebook group and you can find some more Comic-Con news, and you can chat about it with new friends that you're going to make there because it's an awesome place. So that's right. It was good news wrap up, guys. This Wednesday, as every Wednesday, is New Comic Book Day, and what we'd like to do to close out our show is we like to tell you guys some suggestions. We like to set the menu for next week, so to speak, and tell you guys just a few suggestions about what you should go pick up this next week to get your week started right reading some comics. So, Craig, why don't you kick us off on this one, man? What do you think folks should grab this next week?
Cave Woman Rescue Party #1. No, I'm kidding.
I approve this choice.
Star Pig #1.
How is that better than Cave?
Because it's Delilah S. Dawson writing it.
Oh, nice.
Francesco Gaston and Sarah Richard. When 16-year-old Vess goes to space camp, a tragic shuttle accident sends her and the rest of the shuttle careening towards a cold death in space. She is rescued by a giant spacefaring water bear. So, Delilah S. Dawson, for those of you that don't know, writes a lot of prose and specifically writes a lot of Star Wars prose. So, I'm pretty excited for this.
I just saw the cover to this. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I think it's Aftershock, or no, it's not Aftershock. IDW. So there you have it.
Nice.
Star Pig #1 is better than Cave Woman Rescue Party #1.
Jerry, what are you grabbing this next week?
Valkyrie #1 by Jason Aaron, CAFU, and Al Ewing. It's Jane Foster as Valkyrie. Enough said.
Nice. Sean, what you reading this next week, dude?
Well, luckily I brought up something because Star Pig was my pick as well. But also coming out this Wednesday is Batman Curse of the White Knight from DC Comics / Black Label, written by Sean Murphy and art by Sean Murphy. In the explosive sequel to the critically acclaimed blockbuster Batman White Knight from writer-artist Sean Murphy, the Joker recruits Azrael to help him expose a shocking secret from the Wayne family legacy and to run Gotham City into the ground. So I loved White Knight, so I'm definitely in on the sequel for it for sure.
So I'm looking forward to the most is Red Sonya #6, Dynamite Entertainment by Mark Russell and Mirko Kolak. She is going to engage the dominant army that has been in pursuit of her, and I can't wait to see how she does it.
Yeah,
you think she'll hit things with a sword?
Oh,
instead of running
people with a sword, bro.
Instead of running and doing the subversive stuff they've been doing, they are actually going to turn and do battle with the army.
I'm just impressed Matt got out a sentence with the words Red Sonya, engage, and dominant in the same sentence and didn't make it dirty.
Oh, it was.
You gotta rewind and listen to his tone that he used.
Read between the lines.
Yeah.
Huh? I want you guys to go pick up a trade this next week. Throw that on the menu. We are getting GoBots by Tom Scioli, the trade paperback. If you don't know what this is, GoBots was kind of an answer, so to speak, to Transformers during the hype of the 80s when they came out. I think Sean is a big fan of these old toys. I'm a big fan of Tom Scioli, and that's why I think you should go pick up this book. Tom Scioli is kind of a student of Jack Kirby. He really has this old school style of storytelling. I loved his American Barbarian. It was just announced that he's going to be doing the Fantastic Four Grand Design, kind of like the X-Men Grand Design that Ed Piskor did. It's going to be a lot of fun. I didn't get this in single issues, so I'm curious to just dive in.
I'm going to be stealing it from you.
Nice.
Because I can't tell you how many times I walked over and picked it up just to admire the art.
Yeah, I love, man, Tom Scioli is awesome.
I got the single issues.
Did you?
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
I did not.
All right, guys, that's all we've got for you today. We really hope you enjoyed our show, and we hope you come back and hang out with us some more next time. Go check out those books. Support your local comic shops. Let us know what you're thinking, what you're reading, what you're doing. Swing by our Facebook group where we're always chatting about stuff. You can find us on Instagram. We're at SFG Podcast, and Twitter. We're under the same name. Is it a handle? Is that what you call it? I don't know. Who knows how this technology stuff works? If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, shoot us an email. We are southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. And if you've got nothing else, guys, go forth and love some comics. Woo!